Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Tuesday Travel Chat. I'm Natasha Ho. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm excited to be back with you guys again this week. Please, I want to know how you're doing. I hope you guys are doing well and taking care of yourselves, enjoying these last few weeks of summertime and the sunshine. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. I can look outside my window here and see the sunshine, so I've been enjoying these last few days of summer. And I was just reminiscing with Isaac earlier this week about one of the last vacations that we got to take before the whole lockdown pandemic virus situation. And the last vacation that we had an opportunity to take was a trip to Nashville, Tennessee, where we went in January before everything kind of shut down. And so we were reminiscing about the great time that we had, and it inspired me this week to want to share with you guys how to bring home a trip to Nashville, Tennessee, to wherever you are in the world. It was a really fun experience, one that was a little bit different than anywhere I had been. I haven't really done a lot of travel in the American South, and so it was a really fun and cool experience. And so I want to share with you a variety of things that you can eat, do, and watch to bring a taste of Nashville, Tennessee home to you. So really excited to share this one with you guys, and I hope you guys are excited to go with me off to Tennessee. And really, I don't think that you can talk about Nashville, Tennessee without talking about country music. It's the other name for Nashville is it's known as Music City. It's a city that's all about music. So the perfect place to start your staycation, your fabulous staycation in Nashville, is with music. And Nashville is the capital of country music. It's really where country music took off and became a worldwide phenomenon, and so many stars that we think of with country music, this is where they built their careers, and a lot of them call it home. So we have to start with country music. And just to give you a little bit of background about country music and its origins and how it started and grew to popularity. So originally country music came from the West and the South regions, from rural areas in the South and in the West, and it came from the Appalachian area. There were people out in the rural areas that would create these folk songs that they would sing, and they would tell tales about life in, you know, their tragedies and things that would happen to them, their lives in the Appalachians, and then they would play that alongside guitar melodies and banjo and the fiddle. And so eventually those sounds made their way out of the rural areas and into the cities, and into cities like Nashville, where it started to grow in popularity. And then that sound mixed with some other sounds from the cities like blues and bluegrass and all sorts of other sounds that eventually kind of morphed into the country music that we know of today. So that is how it kind of evolved over time, mixed with blues and jazz and bluegrass and all these other sounds, so that we get the sound of country music today. And so really, some of the greats I think of when I think of Nashville and I think of country music, it's like Dolly Parton, and you think of like Minnie Pearl and Patsy Cline, and you think of today's star. I'm thinking of all women. I just kind of you think of you know, stars of today like Tim McGraw, or you think of Carrie Underwood and Faith Hill, Taylor Swift, who not so country anymore, but she did start out in the realm of country, and Trace Adkins and Little Big Town, and all these different bands that have grown to popularity, and a lot of them got their start in Nashville. That's really where a lot of people go. That's like the Mecca. That's where you go to get your start in country music. And so country music is where you really have to, something you have to experience. I think you have to experience it firsthand. So for me, one of the things is like, I'm not a country music fan. I wouldn't call myself a fan, but as I was listening to the music, I started to realize how much of it seeps into just like the culture and these songs that I didn't even realize I knew. I was listening to the song earlier today. It was a Tim McGraw song, and I think it was Live Like You Were Dying, and the chorus came on and I knew all the words, and I was like, how do I know all the words to this song? I don't even remember learning this song or listening to this song, but it's so funny because it just like the songs I think are so catchy, then you just start to hear them everywhere. And so you may even be surprised yourself of how many country songs that you know. Hi Angela, nice to see you. So I put together a playlist that will allow you to introduce you to some of these country artists. It's a lot of the classics, the greats, like I mentioned. And if you're a country music fan already, then it will just be an opportunity for you to celebrate some of your favorite songs. Like I was saying, like there's a lot of them that I was listening to and I didn't even realize I knew like all these songs. There's this one that came on and I was like, how do I know all the words to this song? And they're absolutely beautiful songs. It was just really funny to me that I heard all these songs and realized I know a lot of country music. So there's a ton of songs on here. I actually really enjoyed this playlist. It's a great one to, like I said, introduce you to some country music or celebrate some of your favorite country music songs. And I think that's, like I said, the starting point and it's the crux of a lot of the culture in Nashville, in Tennessee in general, but specifically for Nashville. So music is the place that we start. And if you're wondering, like, how did Nashville kind of get this association with music? How did country music really grow and become such a huge thing all around the world? And a lot of that had to do with the city of Nashville, and it specifically had to do with a radio show. There's a radio show that started in Nashville and it's called the Grand Ole Opry. And so this started out in 1925, and it was a 1-hour barn dance that they would broadcast on the radio. And from there, over the years, it grew and grew. And so the show, it includes music and dance and comedy, and they broadcast that live. And it's all since 1925. It's still been broadcasting to this day. They broadcast every week on Saturdays from the theater, and they put on this amazing show. And they have all these live artists that come out there to perform, and it's you know, young upcoming artists who are getting their big break, who get to perform on the Grand Ole Opry. But then there are also all of these big huge names who come in, and you know, like a Brad Paisley, and you know, the people we're talking about like Faith Hill, Reba McEntire, these huge names that also will come in and perform. And one of the cool things is that when you become a huge star, they invite you to join the Grand Ole Opry, and then anytime you want to just join and drop by and come and perform on stage, you can just, like, you know, I got a new song out and I want to perform it for an audience. You can just drop by the Grand Ole Opry and perform on the stage. So it's a really amazing place, and it has a lot of heritage. It's an important part of Nashville's history and country music's history, and so a perfect way for you to experience the Grand Ole Opry on your staycation is to join the live stream. So they, like I said, they live stream it. Currently right now they're not able to have an audience there, but they are still doing performances. So every Saturday night they do a Grand Ole Opry live stream, and you can go to their website. I have a link for that in the blog post that's in the description box for this video, and you can watch a live performance from the Grand Ole Opry. And so they have a whole bunch of performances. I think I saw Darius Rucker, who's formerly of Hootie and the Blowfish, who's now a huge country music star. He's performing this weekend. So they have tons of big stars that are performing every single weekend. You can get to see the whole experience of what the Grand Ole Opry show is, and them actually putting on a huge production of a radio show every single week. So it's a really cool place to experience, from both, you know, visiting it physically, but also the show itself is such an amazing piece of production work that they put together, and you can still enjoy that from home, which is really awesome. So let's see, what else did I have? Oh, so the other thing I wanted to share with you, which was one of my absolute favorite things that we did while we were in Nashville, was doing a songwriting session with a local musician. So the reason that we went to Nashville was because my husband Isaac had said years and years ago when we first started dating, he said that writing a song was his dream. It was something he had always wanted to do. And so I was trying to think of what to give him, because he can be so difficult to buy gifts for. And so I usually give him gifts of experiences, things that are unique that he probably wouldn't think of for himself. And so I thought back to that experience he mentioned of wanting to write music. And so I found out in Nashville they have songwriting sessions that you can do with professional musicians and songwriters, because Nashville is not only just a place that a lot of artists go, but people who want to write music for these amazing artists also go to Nashville. And so one of them, she offers you the opportunity to come and sit with her for 2 hours, and you can write your song in that 2-hour session with her. So that was the reason that we went to Nashville, was I had gifted him this experience. And then obviously to experience and see the rest of the city is a bonus piece to it, but that was really the gift that I had given him. And so that experience itself was incredible, so much fun, and I think it's a great way to recreate what is so unique about Nashville. What makes Nashville Nashville is this culture of music and creativity, and you can do that from anywhere in the world. You don't have to be in Nashville to create your own song, so that's the really cool part. And in the blog post for this this video, I have a little bit more detail to give you some step-by-step suggestions on how to put together your song. But just to give you a quick overview, it's really simple. The songwriting process is actually a lot less complicated than it might look from the outside. The first thing is really deciding on an idea or a topic that you want to sing about or you want your song to be about, and then thinking about what you want the mood or the genre of your song to be. And then from there, it's just writing, picking out a melody and writing lyrics to go along with that theme and with the emotion or the mood that you're trying to set with your song. So it's actually quite simple. If you've ever written, stories or poetry or anything like that, it's just a condensed version of that in like, a 3 or 4 minute package with a melody. So, in terms of where to start, you can start with the lyrics or you can start with the melody, either one, it doesn't matter. My husband started out with some lyrics, and then we had this amazing musician who helped us with the melody. So that was a nice part to have somebody who knows how to do that, but you can start with either one. And if you're looking for a melody, I recommend checking out freemusicarchive.org. There is tons and tons of music on there. I use it all the time for all sorts of things. You can just type in the genre of music that you're looking for. So if it's, country or pop, or if it's reggae or, salsa, whatever kind of music it is that you're looking for, you can find a melody on there and you can use them for free. And so you can download a melody that you like and then get to work on writing the lyrics for your song. So think about, what are the theme? Is it a love song? Is it going to be a breakup song? Is it an anthem, like a power anthem? Is it a ballad? Is it going to be upbeat and up tempo? Are you going to, it could be about absolutely anything you want. So my husband, when he wrote his song, he actually decided to write a lullaby because we just were, kind of new parents and experiencing our new baby boy. And so I want to play for you guys a little sample of the song that he wrote for our son. It's absolutely adorable and really, really sweet. And I don't have to worry about Facebook cutting me off because this is, not copywritten. This is, we actually own the song. So let me see if I can get this to play. Did I do something wrong? Who was playing? Okay, let's try this one more time. There we go. So the artist that we worked with, she's a professional violinist, so this is her playing.
School of love, that's what they told me. Then you came and showed me. Through life I've been looking for reasons to grow. I do my best growing when I hold you close. Before you go exploring, you gotta sleep till morning. Before you start the journey, you gotta start the snoring. So I'll sing to you every time I do. Put your hand in mine and I'll kiss you goodnight.
So that was a little sample of the song that Isaac wrote for our son, Leo. That's Isaac singing also on the track, by the way. He sang his own song. So he's got his demo track ready so he can go get his big break in Nashville and become a big music star. But that was, we had the opportunity to sit down with her and actually record it. But whether you want to record it, you just want to write it and put it together and enjoy it for yourself. It was a really cool experience to just sit down and feel what the process is like, because I think, one, it can seem intimidating, and it's actually a lot simpler than it might look, but also you realize how much work goes into all of the music that you hear on the radio, and songs can be, you know, you hear them and you don't necessarily think about how much work goes into creating this story in this short little tiny package, and what it takes to make a big hit record. I remember I was right around Christmas, and they were talking about the anniversary of Mariah carrying All I Want for Christmas Is You, and that she wrote that song in 90 minutes. She sat down and just like magic, brilliance came out of her. So it makes you have a lot more appreciation for people who have this talent to be able to create these amazing songs and lyrics and the melodies and all of that stuff. And so I'm still waiting for my husband to get his big break so that we can make millions and millions of dollars from his songwriting career. But it's also just a really, really fun way to experience music and, you know, feel like you're really a part of Music City and the culture of Nashville. So that is the next thing that I recommend that you try out for your staycation. And moving from the things we do, I want to now talk about some things that you can eat, because you know me, I love to eat, I love food, and I assume you probably do too. So let's talk about some of the yummy items that you can eat from Nashville. Nashville has lots and lots of delicious things to enjoy, but perhaps one of the most popular and famous things that comes out of Nashville is called Nashville hot chicken. And Nashville hot chicken, it is a southern fried chicken dish that is doused in a cayenne spicy hot glaze. It's absolutely delicious. It's this crunchy exterior, and it's like ultra crispy, and then it's hot and smoky, and usually it's traditionally served alongside with like some white bread and some pickles. And it's so amazing. The first thing that we did pretty much after we got off the plane in Nashville was go get in line to have some Nashville hot chicken, and we did not regret that choice at all. So delicious. The legend has it, the story behind how Nashville hot chicken was invented was a woman, she was waiting for her lover to return home, and he was a chronic womanizer. Like, he was always out in the streets and partying and everything, and he came home super late one night, and she was really upset. She was furious at him, and so she decided to punish him by dousing the fried chicken she made in everything spicy she could find in the kitchen. She was trying to make it super hot to punish him, and so he bites into it, and unfortunately for her, he absolutely loved it. He said it was so delicious, so amazing, and so good that, in fact, that he wanted to create his own shop behind this recipe. He shared it with everyone he knew. They all thought it was delicious. So he started his own restaurant afterward from the recipe of this chicken that she made. She left him, but he went on to create Prince's Chicken Shack. And Prince's Chicken Shack was started over 80 years ago, and it still is a fixture in Nashville today. It's where everyone goes to make sure they try Nashville hot chicken. And the recipe that they have for hot chicken is a closely guarded secret, but I have a very close and delicious version that I want to share with you guys, and that recipe is in the blog post. I did a Nashville hot chicken dupe last week on some chicken wings, and oh my god, so delicious, so good. It was a little actually it was very spicy and a little bit sweet, and so delicious. So I highly recommend doing it. It's perfect for this type of season, the summertime, having some good old fried chicken, the pickles. You can get some macaroni and cheese with some greens on the side, get some baked beans, all that stuff. So good. Southern food, I can't ever get enough of it. So Nashville hot chicken is a must, and a super delicious way to take your taste buds on a trip to Nashville for your staycation. And of course, if we're talking about Tennessee, we're talking about Nashville, we have to talk about Tennessee whiskey. Tennessee is another mecca for whiskey. As well, they've been making making spirits in Tennessee for centuries, actually. Since before the American Civil War, they've been making spirits in Tennessee, and so the area is known for having a great water, land, and climate for the making of whiskey, and so that's part of the reason that whiskey came to be such a huge part of the industry there. So whiskey super popular, and brands that are known around the world, you know, like a Jack Daniels, those all herald from Tennessee whiskey. And so I think a great way to experience Nashville, experience Tennessee, is to wet your whistle a little bit with some whiskeys. And I recommend not just trying, you know, your everyday whiskey, but to treat yourself, to really have a luxurious experience on your staycation. Treat yourself with some high-end versions and do a whiskey tasting of a few of these really great whiskeys. So I pulled out a couple that I would recommend for you. I did not used to be a big whiskey drinker when I first started drinking, and then I think when I got into like my mid-20s, late 20s or so, I started drinking whiskey, and it's now become one of my absolute favorites. Hey LaShawn, nice to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. It's now become one of my favorites, and it's a really great and very sippable kind of drink. My husband is a big Scotch fan. I'm still working my way up to Scotch. I'm still at the whiskey level, but if you're like a person who doesn't do a lot of drinking, I think a whiskey is actually a very nice and easy drink to kind of get started in an easier way on up through to some of the more stronger flavors. But the first one that I wrote down for you to share is called Heaven's Door Straight Tennessee Bourbon. And this one is actually, the distillery was started by the musician Bob Dylan. And it's headquartered in a church in Nashville, Tennessee. And the whiskey has won all sorts of awards, like gold medals from all sorts of spirit competitions. And so it's a really great place to start with trying out one that has close ties to the city of Nashville. The next one is a George Dickel variety. It's George Dickel's Barrel Select Tennessee whiskey. This one is aged from anywhere from 10 to 12 years. And the master distiller then picks from 10 different barrels to mix them together. So he creates a really masterful concoction based on the flavors of multiple different barrels and mixing those all together to create a very special spirit. So that's the second one to try out. And the last one is Jack Daniel's 150th Anniversary Tennessee Whiskey. Like I said, you can't talk about whiskey from Tennessee without talking about Jack Daniel's. Jack Daniel's is really the brand that people think of when they think of Tennessee whiskey, and it really put like the whiskey on the map for Tennessee. That's what everyone thinks of when they think of Tennessee whiskey, is having a bottle of Jack. It's like in every country song too. So Jack Daniel's is definitely one that I had to include on the list. And what distinguishes this version from their normal version, the recipe is actually exactly the same as the mash that they use in the Old No. 7 Tennessee whiskey from Jack Daniel's, but the difference is this one, they allowed it to stay at a higher proof. So this one is 100 proof, which means 50% alcohol, as opposed to the 80 proof version of the regular Jack Daniel's. And so with the difference in alcohol content, this one has a much more intense flavor, more of a kick to it. It'll really get you, you know, that full robust flavor of the whiskey. So I recommend trying those out. And the best way to, you know, do a tasting to really try it is to do it neat. So that's just drinking it straight up, or you can drink it over ice, and it'll really allow you to taste the flavors. The ice will kind of thin it, you know, water it down, thin it out a little bit if you're intimidated by doing the whiskey, or you can always just add a dash of water to it too. That can help as well. And you can always do a cocktail too if you want, like an old fashioned or something like that. That's my husband's favorite drink. What did LaSagne say? Never tried whiskey, almost did last weekend, but chickened out. Oh no. You should try. The drink that I usually, my go-to drink actually is a whiskey ginger. So I mix together whiskey with ginger ale, and it has like, how would I do? A nice like smoky flavor, and but the sweetness of the ginger ale kind of helps a little bit if you're not a big drinker, if you haven't had whiskey before. I remember my friend Sandy and I, when we were younger and we were running in the streets, we always used to say that whiskey made us feel sexy. It's like a sexy drink. So I don't know if that makes you more or less likely to want to try a whiskey, but I do recommend it. I personally really do enjoy a whiskey of all the different kinds of spirits. I think it's one that's quite tasty, and it has a lot of flavor to it as opposed to like a vodka or something where it just feels like you're drinking straight up rubbing alcohol sometimes. Whiskey has a lot of really nice flavor to it. So that is what I recommend for your staycation, is to jump into a nice whiskey and enjoy that for your trip to Nashville. And last, but certainly not least, we always talk about things to watch, things that will really transport you to the city of Nashville. And so I have a couple recommendations for you on things that you can watch over your staycation to help you kind of dive into the culture of Nashville, learn a little bit more about the city, learn more about the music industry. Because it's Music City, a lot of the films and creative works that have been created about Nashville have to do with music. So the first one that I recommend, it's a classic, it's from the 1970s, it's called Nashville. And this movie is, it follows the story of multiple different storylines, different characters who are living in Nashville, and it's really a portrait of life in the 1970s. So it really talks about American life in the 1970s. It also talks about the music industry and how these different people's lives are connected to each other and what's happening in that era and in the city during that era. So it's considered like a classic movie and really, really great cinema for kind of seeing something from American cinema. The next one is called The Coal Miner's Daughter, and this one is an autobiographical film. It's autobiographical? No. A biographical film about Loretta Lynn. Oh, what did she say? LaShawn, okay, now I'll give it a shot. A little sexy never hurt anybody. Yes, LaShawn, give it a shot. You come back and you let me know if you were feeling sexy after you had your whiskey. So the movie Coal Miner's Daughter, it is a biographic film, biopic as I think people call it, about Loretta Lynn's life. So it follows all the way from her growing up in a poor rural area, getting married at 15, and then you follow her all the way to her stardom and fame and becoming one of the hugest country music stars in the world. Sissy Spacek is the woman who starred as Loretta Lynn, and it's heralded as like this incredible performance, super, super great role for her in terms of her performance in the role as Loretta Lynn. The other one that I recommend is a kid movie, because I always like to make sure to include options for families and kiddos, and that is, which actually kind of makes me laugh, but it is Country Bears. And this is it was a Disney ride, actually. It was a ride at the Disney parks, and they used that as the inspiration for the movie. So the movie is about this little bear, I think his name is Barry Barrington, very Disney, and he is a fan of the band, the Country Bears. So in the movie, they are a famous, legendary band, and he has to get them to get back together to perform for a benefit concert in order to save the Country Bear Hall, which is a big venue where the Country Bears got their start. And so they're trying to save the venue through this big benefit concert. And so it's a super cute cute movie, and all of these are available via streaming. I think that one's on Disney Plus, and the other ones are I have links to where you can stream them. I think they're on like YouTube and stuff, so you can stream all of those online. And the last one is not a movie, it's a TV show, but super huge and popular TV show. It's also called Nashville. It was on ABC for several seasons. I think there's like 5 or 6 different seasons of the show, and it follows the careers of 2 huge country musicians. One of them is a big, huge star, and the other one is an up-and-coming starlet who's trying to take her place. And so it's all about kind of their careers. But the cool thing is that it also features a lot of real, true, like current country music stars who make cameos in the show, and they take you through behind the scenes of the industry to a lot of the places and the people that people actually interact with in Nashville. For instance, there is a place called the Bluebird Cafe that is featured in the show often, and that location is famous in Nashville as being a place where songwriters can come to do their songwriters showcase, and they can play their music, and a lot of them, that's a place to go to get discovered, because executives from big music companies will come there to listen to the up-and-coming musicians and songwriters, and that's where you can get your big break, is at the Bluebird Cafe. So they have locations like that, which really are huge parts of Nashville that you can learn a little bit more about, but you get to get into this entire world that they've created through the TV show with Nashville. So those are my recommendations of things to watch that will give you a taste of Nashville, Tennessee. So I think that's it. We've honky-tonked our way all the way around Nashville. I hope you enjoyed this sample of Nashville, Tennessee. Just a little taste of the things that you can do at home. If you want more Nashville, if you want other examples of things that you can do, eat, and watch in order to bring Nashville, Tennessee home to you, please let me know. You can send me a direct message and I would be happy to share more with you. And I hope you guys have an amazing week, another awesome week of sunshine, and take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you guys again here next week. Take care. Bye guys.